Dr. John Parker floated nervously in the zero-gravity conference room. His stomach churned, though he couldn't tell if it was from the lack of gravity or the fact that he was the only human among 12 alien species. The Intergalactic Biology Conference was held every 5 Earth years, but this was the first time humanity had been invited. John looked around the massive dome. Strange creatures from across the galaxy filled the space. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and a few looked like walking crystals. Each species had its own translator device, making the room buzz with different voices and clicking sounds. "Attention all delegates," a voice announced through his translator. "The opening session will begin. Each species will present their home, planet's food chain structure." John watched as species after species gave their presentations. He noticed a pattern quickly. On every alien world, the food chain was simple. Big animals ate smaller ones. It was always the same rule. The Xeraxians showed how their largest predator, the Krath beast, hunted smaller creatures in perfect size order. The Vortekians explained how their ocean predators grew larger at each level of the chain. When Earth's turn came, John nervously activated his holographic display. He had prepared a basic overview, starting with the typical examples. Wolves hunting, deer, eagles catching mice. So far, so good. The aliens nodded along, then he showed the first unusual example. A small bird eating seeds, insects, and sometimes small lizards. Nothing too shocking. But when he displayed an image of a praying mantis catching a hummingbird, several aliens made distressed sounds. "This is unusual." Keth 9, the Xeraxian delegate, spoke through her translator. "Your smaller creature consumed a larger one?" "Yes," John replied, feeling sweat form on his forehead. "On Earth, size doesn't always determine who eats whom." The room went silent. Then came the whispers, clicks, and chirps as aliens discussed among themselves. John continued, showing more examples. A spider trapping a bird in its web. A snake swallowing an egg larger than its own head. With each image, the aliens grew more agitated. "Dr. Parker," interrupted Grath Commander from the Krellic Empire, "these images must be fictional. No ecosystem can function with such chaos." "They're real," John insisted, feeling defensive. "On Earth, predators use different strategies. Venom, webs, traps, speed. Impossible," said Zix Prime, the Vortekian. "If smaller creatures could hunt larger ones, no species would be safe. Evolution would collapse." John realized he was making aliens uncomfortable. The conference moderator, a being made of swirling light, floated toward him. "Dr. Parker, perhaps you could show us your apex predators? Surely they follow the standard model?" John brought up images of lions, tigers, and bears. The aliens relaxed slightly. "Yes, this makes sense," Keth 9 said. "Large predators hunting smaller prey." But John couldn't help himself. "Actually, humans are Earth's apex predator, and we're not the largest land animal. We use tools and intelligence rather than size." "Humans?" Grath Commander's tentacles twisted. "You mean your species? But you're medium-sized at best?" "Well, yes, but and you claim to dominate your entire planet?" Zix Prime's crystalline body flickered with confusion. John nodded. The whispers grew louder. "Dr. Parker," the light-being moderator said gently, "perhaps you should save the more unique aspects of Earth's biology for a dedicated session. We don't want to overwhelm our first-time attendees." John agreed, but noticed several aliens staring at him with new interest. As he floated back to his designated area, Keth 9 approached him. "Dr. Parker, I must ask, these unusual predator relationships you mentioned, are they common on your world?" "Very common," John replied. "In fact, our whole ecosystem is built on these interactions." Keth 9's large eyes widened. "And your species evolved in this environment?" "Yes, for millions of years." The Xeraxian delegate paused, processing this information. "This explains much about your species' rapid technological advancement. You've spent eons adapting to threats that break our fundamental understanding of predator-prey relationships." Other aliens began gathering around John. The Vortekian, the Krellic, Even some species he hadn't seen before. They all had questions. "Do you have small creatures that eat large plants?" asked one. "Are there flying animals that hunt in water?" asked another. "Have you developed immunity to being unpredictable prey?" asked a third. John felt overwhelmed by the sudden attention. Yes to all of those, and much more." "Fascinating," whispered something that looked like a floating brain. "Perhaps we need to reschedule Dr. Parker for a special presentation." The light-being moderator overheard. "An excellent suggestion. Dr. Parker, would you be willing to give a dedicated lecture on Earth's food chain anomalies?" John hadn't expected this. He thought about his simple PowerPoint presentation back in his quarters. It wasn't prepared for such intense interest. "I suppose I could expand my material," he said. "Wonderful." The moderator beamed. If a being of light could beam. "We'll announce a special session tomorrow. Please prepare for questions, many questions." As the aliens drifted back to their positions for the next presentation, John floated there, overwhelmed. He had come prepared to show Earth's food chain. But apparently, Earth's way of doing things was completely alien to actual aliens. Tomorrow, he would have to explain how a tiny frog could kill a snake, how a spider could catch a bird, and how humans, soft, relatively small humans, had become Earth's dominant species despite living in a world where size meant nothing, and anything could eat anything. The next presentation began, showing another orderly food chain from another world. John barely listened. He was already planning tomorrow's lecture, wondering how many alien minds would be blown when he got to the really weird stuff, like archerfish, or the frog that ate snakes. John stood at the front of the conference room facing hundreds of aliens. Every seat was filled. Some delegates even floated in the air or clung to the walls. Word had spread quickly about his Earth Anomalies presentation. "Thank you all for coming," John began, his voice carrying through the translators. "Today I'll explain how Earth's food chains work differently from what you're used to." He activated the holographic display. "Let's start simple. This is a basic Earth forest." The projection showed trees, grass, and various animals. The aliens nodded. This looked normal. Now, watch what happens when a deer eats plants. The deer, in the hologram, nibbled leaves. Still normal. And a wolf hunts the deer. The wolf chased and caught the deer. Aliens made approving sounds. "So far, this follows your standard model," John said. "But watch what happens next." The scene changed. A small brown snake slithered toward a bird's nest. The bird, much larger than the snake, flew at it aggressively. "You might expect the bird to win, being larger," John said. But the snake strike was lightning fast. The bird fell, paralyzed by venom. Gasps and chirps filled the room. Several aliens made distressed noises. "Venom," Keth 9 exclaimed. "You didn't mention venom yesterday." "There's much I didn't mention," John replied. "Earth has evolved countless ways for smaller creatures to defeat larger ones." He showed the next example. A tiny golden-ringed dragonfly catching a bird in mid-air, then a mantis shrimp cracking the shell of a large crab with a single punch. "This is impossible," Zix Prime shouted. "How does your ecosystem maintain balance?" "That's the interesting part," John said. "The chaos creates balance. When any creature can be both predator and prey, regardless of size, evolution becomes incredibly creative." He clicked to the next slide. "Take this jumping spider. It's smaller than my fingernail, but it hunts prey much larger than itself." The video showed a tiny spider leaping incredible distances, catching flies 3 times its size. "The spider uses intelligence and calculation," John explained. "It studies its prey, measures distances, and times its jump perfectly." "Like humans use tools?" Grath Commander asked. "Exactly," John said. "But spiders evolved this millions of years before humans existed." Dr. Amy Williams, the marine biologist, joined him on stage. "May I show them the ocean examples?" John nodded gratefully. Amy activated her section of the presentation. "Ocean ecosystems are even more unpredictable," she said. "For instance, the mantis shrimp, a creature that looked like a rainbow-colored, Prawn appeared on screen. This small crustacean has the fastest punch in the animal kingdom. It can break aquarium glass and creates bubbles that produce light and heat. The aliens watched in horror as the mantis shrimp demolished creatures several times its size. But that's not all, Amy continued. There's the anglerfish. The female is large, but the male is tiny. The male actually becomes part of the female's body, merging permanently. Merging? Zix Prime's crystalline form flickered wildly. They become one organism? Yes. And then there's the octopus that mimics other creatures, the seahorse where males give birth and the fish that change gender. Stop! Grath Commander waved his tentacles frantically. This is too much chaotic information. How do you keep track of what's dangerous and what's not? John stepped forward. That's what makes humans adaptable. We grew up never knowing if something was dangerous until we studied it. But that must have killed many of you, Keth9 exclaimed. Yes, John admitted. Many humans died learning what was safe, but the survivors became incredibly cautious and observant. We learned to be suspicious of everything, to study everything. This explains your technology, the floating brain creature said thoughtfully. You never assumed anything was safe or predictable. You had to understand everything. John smiled. Exactly. And now I want to show you the example that perfectly demonstrates Earth's food chain chaos. He clicked to the next slide. A small, colorful frog appeared on screen. This is the poison dart frog. It's smaller than my thumb, but it's one of the most dangerous creatures on Earth. How? Asked several aliens at once. Its skin contains enough poison to kill 10 adult humans. Large predators that try to eat it die. But the frog doesn't just defend itself, it actively hunts larger prey. The video showed the tiny frog catching spiders and small snakes. Wait, Zix Prime said. A frog? Hunting snakes? Snakes that eat frogs? Exactly. Some poison dart frogs specifically hunt small snakes. There are even documented cases of them eating baby snakes whose parents would normally eat adult frogs. The room fell silent. Then came a low murmur of amazement and confusion. Your entire world is a death trap, Grath Commander said slowly. Every creature is potentially both predator and prey. Nothing is safe. Nothing is predictable. Now you understand why humans developed space travel so quickly, John said. When your entire planet tries to kill you in creative ways, you become very good at solving problems. This is why human technology advances so rapidly, Keth9 mused. You approach every problem expecting the unexpected, and this is why you humans survived when other species might not have, Amy added. We're always preparing for threats we can't see or predict. The moderator, the being of light, pulsed brightly. Dr. Parker, Dr. Williams, this changes our understanding of evolutionary pressure. Earth may be unique in the galaxy. What does this mean for us? Zix Prime asked. It means, said the floating brain creature, that humans might be the most survival-oriented species in the galaxy. They've been training for the unexpected for millions of years. John looked at the crowd of aliens, all staring at him and Amy with a mixture of awe and fear. We'd be happy to share our knowledge, John offered. Maybe other worlds could benefit from understanding unpredictable ecosystems. Yes, Grath Commander said. We need to learn from your world's chaos. Perhaps it will prepare us for challenges we can't yet imagine. As the lecture ended, John realized humanity had just become very interesting to the galaxy, all because a tiny frog ate snakes. The questions began immediately, and they didn't stop for hours. After the presentation, John and Amy sat exhausted in their quarters. They had answered questions for 3 hours, but the aliens kept coming back for more. A soft chime announced a visitor at their door. John opened it to find Grath Commander, whose tentacles twisted nervously. Dr. Parker, Dr. Williams, may I speak with you privately? The alien asked. Of course, Amy said, making room. Grath Commander entered, followed by Keth9 and 3 other alien delegates. They looked uncomfortable. We need to tell you something, Grath Commander began. About our worlds. John sensed this was important. Please sit, or float, whatever's comfortable. The aliens arranged themselves in a circle. Keth 9 spoke first. On Zyrax, our food chain is perfect. The Krath beasts are largest and hunt medium predators. Medium predators hunt small animals. Small animals eat plants. It has been this way for 1 million years. That sounds organized, Amy said carefully. Too organized, Zix Prime interjected, his crystalline form dimming. Because of this perfect order, we never developed defenses against unexpected threats. We never needed to. What kind of threats? John asked. Any threats outside our hierarchy, Grath Commander explained. When we first encountered disease, it devastated us. When meteors hit our planet, we had no backup plans. We had evolved in a predictable world. Keth 9 continued, Your chaos prepared your species for everything. You expect the unexpected. We don't. The door chimed again. Lieutenant Commander Steve Johnson and Dr. Lisa Davis entered. Steve wore his standard military uniform, while Lisa carried several data tablets. Sorry we're late, Steve said. We were analyzing your food chain data. Perfect timing, John said. Our friends here are sharing some important information. Steve sat down, his military bearing relaxed but alert. Lisa immediately pulled out her tablets. Your worlds follow strict rules, Lisa said, looking at the data. Predator size determines prey options. It's actually beautiful in its simplicity. But limiting, Zix Prime added softly. We realize now that our technological advancement was slow because we never faced true uncertainty. Steve, this explains a lot, John said, turning to the military officer. Their entire civilizations developed without random threats. Steve's eyes widened. You mean every species that could threaten them was predictable? Known? Exactly, Grath Commander confirmed. On Krellick, our largest warriors fight our largest enemies. Medium warriors fight medium threats. It has worked for thousands of years. But what happens when something new appears? Steve asked. Something that doesn't fit your categories. That's our fear, Keth 9 admitted. We've dominated space travel for millennia, but we've never truly been tested. You humans survived on a death world where tiny frogs kill snakes. We're not sure we could survive on Earth for a single day. Amy leaned forward. Your ocean worlds must have similar patterns? Yes, Zix Prime replied. Our seas have levels. Surface predators rule the surface. Deep predators rule the depths. They never meet, never conflict. Your oceans, different depths mix. Predators from everywhere hunt everywhere. Lisa tapped her tablet rapidly. This is fascinating. Your evolutionary pressure was minimal compared to Earth's. You developed technology through patience and time, not through survival necessity. And you developed it through desperation, Grath Commander observed. Every human innovation started with, how do we not die? Steve stood up and began pacing. This has massive strategic implications. Your entire military doctrine is based on known threats. Bigger ships fight bigger ships. Stronger weapons fight stronger enemies. Yes, Grath Commander said slowly. How do you approach military strategy? We plan for everything we can imagine, Steve replied. Then we plan for things we can't imagine. We train for scenarios that might never happen. It's called preparing for Black Swan events. Black Swan events? Keth 9 asked. Unpredictable, rare events with massive impact, Lisa explained. Named after the discovery of black swans in Australia. Europeans thought all swans were white until they found black ones. You even prepare for impossibilities, Zix Prime mused, because your world taught you that impossibilities happen regularly. Amy nodded. Every human child learns the basic rule. Just because something seems harmless doesn't mean it is. That tiny spider might be deadly. That beautiful flower could be poisonous. That small animal might hunt you. This changes everything, Grath Commander said, all tentacles moving at once. We need to learn from your world's chaos. Our civilizations could face threats we're not prepared for. What kind of threats? John asked. Unknown diseases, dimensional rifts, rogue AI, quantum fluctuations, Keth 9 listed. Things that don't follow our neat hierarchies. You want to study our chaos? Steve asked. More than that, Zix Prime said. We want to understand how you survived it, how you thrived in it. Lisa put down her tablet. You're asking us to teach you unpredictability? To prepare for what you can't predict? Yes, the aliens chorused. John and Amy exchanged glances. Steve crossed his arms, thinking deeply. We can help, John finally said. But you need to understand, learning to expect the unexpected is difficult. It goes against everything your civilizations have built. We're ready, Grath Commander said firmly. Better to be uncomfortable now than extinct later. Very well, Amy said. But it starts with accepting that your biggest threat might be smaller than your thumb. Or that your safest-looking environment might be your deadliest, Steve added. Or that the creature helping you today might hunt you tomorrow, Lisa finished. The aliens looked at each other, processing this information. You know what? Kith 9 said. Maybe we should start with the frog that eats snakes. Good choice, John smiled. That's actually one of our easier examples. The room fell silent as everyone considered what this meant. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations were asking the newest members to teach them how to survive chaos. And it all started with a tiny frog that defied the rules. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous. John, Amy, Steve, and Lisa stood in the center, surrounded by hundreds of alien dignitaries. Above them, holographic displays showed a rotating planet. Zarion 7, the council leader announced. By galactic standards, a moderately challenging world. You will be dropped with minimal equipment and must survive 48 hours. John studied the planet's image. It looked peaceful enough. Green forests, blue oceans, orange deserts. What makes it challenging? Amy asked. The predators follow standard hierarchy, Keth 9 explained. Some are quite large. Most delegates require protective suits and armed escorts to visit. Steve raised an eyebrow. And you expect us to survive without weapons? We're testing Earth survival methods, Grath Commander said. You claim adaptability, so we test adaptability. Lisa checked her tablet. 2 days, minimal gear, unknown ecosystem. Got it. The council leader waved several tentacles. You'll each carry a basic survival pack, a communicator, and a tracking device. Medical teams will monitor your vital signs. And then? John asked. Survive. Thrive if possible, Zix Prime answered. Show us how humans handle an unknown environment. Within hours, the 4 humans stood on Zarion 7's surface. The forest around them rustled with unknown sounds. Well, Steve said, adjusting his pack. At least it's not trying to eat us yet. Give it time, Amy replied, testing the soil. This is rich, lots of life. John was already examining leaves and bark. These patterns look familiar, but wrong. Like Earth plants that evolve differently. Lisa pulled out her scanner. Atmospheric composition is close to Earth normal, but watch for... A shriek cut through the air. Something large crashed through the trees nearby. That sounded big, Steve said calmly, drawing a basic knife from his pack. Rule 1, John muttered. Big doesn't always mean dangerous. The creature that emerged was indeed large, about the size of an earth elephant, but with 6 legs and scales. It paused when it saw them, then continued walking past. Herbivore, Amy observed. Look at those teeth, flat grinders. The aliens watching probably expect us to run, Steve noted. They continued deeper into the forest. Lisa was cataloging everything. Amy collected water samples and John studied the local food web. Found water, Lisa announced. Fresh, clean, but wait, there are fish with wings? Flying fish are normal on Earth, Amy said, then paused. These are actually flying, like birds. Nothing's normal anywhere, John said. That's the point. By midday, they had established a basic camp. Steve had built a shelter using branches and large leaves. Amy had identified edible plants that looked nothing like Earth vegetables, but had familiar chemical signatures. John had mapped several animal tracks. We're being watched, Lisa said quietly, not looking up from her notes. I count 3 different species, Steve confirmed. Small ones in the trees, medium ones in the bushes, and something big following us since noon. All waiting to see what we do, Amy added. A small creature, about the size of a house cat but with crystals growing from its back, approached cautiously. It held out what looked like fruit. "Are you offering food?" John asked softly. The creature chittered and dropped the fruit before backing away. "On Earth, this could be symbiotic behavior or a trap," Amy said. "Here, who knows?" Lisa scanned the fruit. "Non-toxic, actually quite nutritious." "Risk it?" Steve asked. "Everything's a risk," John shrugged and took a bite. "Tastes like crunchy. Watermelon?" The crystal cat creature looked pleased and scampered away. "See?" Lisa said into her communicator. "We don't assume. We test." The afternoon brought more challenges. They encountered a stream where the water flowed upward. Fish-birds dove into the forest canopy. Plants that seemed to deliberately tangle their feet. On Earth, we'd call this Tuesday, John joked, untangling himself from a vine. When evening came, they discovered the real test. As darkness fell, the forest transformed. Bioluminescent flowers bloomed, casting eerie blue light. Strange howls echoed from multiple directions. "Night shift," Steve announced. "Everything changes after dark." The large creature that had been following them finally appeared. It stood 20 feet tall, with tentacles and far too many eyes. By alien standards, this was clearly the apex predator. The humans didn't run. "Nocturnal hunter," Amy observed. "Look at those eyes. Adapted for multiple light spectrums." "Tentacles suggest grappler, not pursuer," Steve added. "Patient predator." "But check out those feet," John pointed. "Wide, padded. It's trying to be quiet. That means there's something it doesn't want to wake up," Lisa finished. They watched as the giant creature carefully picked its way through the forest, avoiding certain areas entirely. "The top predator is afraid of something," Steve said. "Classic Earth lesson, nothing's truly at the top." Following the giant's path, they discovered what it was avoiding. Patches of seemingly harmless moss that generated electrical discharges when disturbed. Small enough to be harmless to humans, but apparently painful for larger creatures. "Tiny thing controlling huge thing," John smiled. "Like our poison frogs." They spent the night taking turns on watch, documenting the ecosystem shifts. Lisa recorded how prey became predators after dark. Amy discovered nocturnal pollinators that doubled as ambush hunters. John found evidence of what he called nightmare mice, tiny creatures that hunted in packs and paralyzed prey with sonic attacks. "The aliens are learning more than they expected," Steve observed during his watch shift. Morning came with new surprises. The day creatures were different from night creatures, but both groups seemed aware of each other. The humans had mapped a complex system where size, time of day, and even weather determined predator-prey relationships. "Time to head back," Amy announced as their 48 hours ended. When the transport arrived, the aliens seemed shocked. Not that the humans had survived, but that they had thrived. Their camp was neat. They had documented dozens of species interactions, and they looked more energized than exhausted. "You didn't just survive," Keth9 observed. "You studied it." "You mapped the entire local food web in 2 days," Zix Prime added. "That's what Earth taught us," John replied. "Never stop learning. Every environment has rules, even if those rules change every few hours." "And you enjoyed it," Grath Commander noted with amazement. "Sure," Lisa shrugged. "It's just another alien ecosystem. Nothing eats poison dart frog that hunts snakes." The aliens exchanged looks. The humans had just treated their challenging world as a mild educational experience. The real lesson was about to begin. The news spread through the galaxy in days. 4 humans had not just survived, but thrived on Zarion 7. Most alien species needed military escorts just to visit the planet, yet humans had treated it like a camping trip. Back at the conference station, John found himself in an unexpected role. Hundreds of alien delegates lined up for consultations. They all wanted to know the same thing. How do you prepare for the unpredictable? "It starts small," John explained to a group of Zeraxian military leaders. "On Earth, children learn that beautiful flowers might be deadly. Your children learn which size predator to avoid. Keth 9 translated for her colleagues. So, human children grow up suspicious? Curious, Amy corrected, joining the discussion. We teach observation before assumption. Look before you touch. Study before you act. The Galactic Council had restructured their entire agenda. Instead of the usual presentations about mineral extraction and trade routes, they focused on survival adaptation. Dr. Parker, the council leader, announced, humanity will be granted a unique position in our alliance. John blinked. What kind of position? Survival consultants, teachers, risk assessments for worlds we don't understand. We want you to help us prepare for threats we can't imagine, Grath Commander added. Steve stepped forward. With respect, we're not trained to lead galaxy-wide survival programs. Then we'll learn together, Zix Prime said. Your instincts are our education. Within months, the Galactic Institute for Adaptive Biology was established. John became its first director, with Amy heading the Marine Division, Steve leading Tactical Survival, and Lisa running Evolutionary Psychology. The first students arrived from across the galaxy. Young aliens of various species gathered to learn Earth's most important lesson: expect the unexpected. Today's lesson, John announced to his first class, is about the poison dart frog. He projected the familiar image, the tiny, colorful frog that had started everything. This frog weighs less than 1 ounce. It could fit on your smallest appendage. Yet it's one of Earth's most feared creatures. A young Krellick raised a tentacle. Because of poison? Partially. But the real power isn't the poison itself, it's what the poison represents. Adaptation. This frog evolved its poison from bugs in its diet. Change the diet, the poison changes. Adaptable toxicity? A Vortekian student flickered. Exactly. And it doesn't just defend. Some species actively hunt snakes twice their size. Snakes that normally eat frogs. Prey-hunting predator, murmured a crystalline student. Chaos become advantage. John smiled. Now you're getting it. Across the station, Amy taught her class about oceanic unpredictability. Earth's oceans have no respect for depth barriers. Surface predators hunt in deep water. Deep dwellers attack from above. Nothing stays in its assigned zone. Her students, mostly from worlds with strictly stratified seas, looked both fascinated and terrified. Steve's tactical classes drew the most military delegates. Human warfare assumes the enemy will do the unexpected. We plan for conventional attacks, unconventional attacks, and attacks we haven't imagined yet. How? Asked a Zyraxian general. We train for every environment, but more importantly, we train for environment changes. What if the battlefield shifts? What if the rules change mid-conflict? The Zyraxian shuddered. Your warriors must live in constant fear. Not fear, Steve corrected. Preparedness. It's not paranoia if the threats are real. Lisa's psychology classes focused on mindset. Earthlings don't seek comfort in predictability. We find comfort in our ability to handle unpredictability. This sounds exhausting, commented a floating brain student. It's liberating, Lisa replied. When you expect chaos, nothing surprises you. When nothing surprises you, you adapt faster. A year later, the first test came. A rogue asteroid, unlike any previously encountered, appeared near colonized systems. Its trajectory defied physics, its composition changed daily, and it seemed to respond to scanning attempts. Alien experts were baffled. Their computers couldn't predict its behavior. Get the humans, became the default response. John's team approached the problem differently. Instead of trying to understand why the asteroid behaved unexpectedly, they planned for multiple possibilities simultaneously. It might split apart, merge with something else, change course randomly, or phase between dimensions, John suggested during a crisis meeting. All at once? Grath Commander asked. Why not? On Earth, we'd call this Tuesday, Steve said. They developed multiple response plans preparing for scenarios that seemed impossible by galactic standards. When the asteroid finally revealed its true nature, a massive biomechanical organism, that had been sleeping, humanity's flexible strategies saved 3 worlds. This is why we needed them, Keth-9 announced at the victory celebration. We would have tried to destroy it as an asteroid. They prepared to deal with it as anything it might be. The incident changed galactic policy forever. Every major decision now included human consultants, not because humans were the wisest or most advanced, but because they were the most prepared for being wrong. 2 years after the first conference, John stood before the same auditorium, but now it was filled with mixed human-alien teams. His lecture title remained the same: Why the Frog That Eats Snakes Might Save the Galaxy. Earth taught us survival through chaos, he began. We learned that size doesn't determine predators. Beautiful things might kill you, tiny creatures might eat large ones, and nothing is ever predictable. He paused, looking at the attentive alien faces. But the most important lesson wasn't about frogs eating snakes. It was that when you accept the impossible as possible, you're never caught off guard. When you're never caught off guard, you survive to innovate another day. The speech ended with the same slide he'd shown years before. The tiny poison dart frog. Questions? John asked. No hands raised this time. They all understood now. The galaxy had learned to think like the frog that eats snakes. Small, unexpected, and always prepared to turn the rules upside down. And they all had Earth and its strange food chains to thank for it. The most feared predator in the galaxy wasn't the largest, fastest, or strongest. It was adaptability. And humanity had brought it to the stars. The frog that ate snakes had indeed changed everything.